So I started a series called Startup Stories, and it's a multi-part segment, and I think I've got 60 pieces along this adventure. I should call it an adventure that I'm working on. And it's been going on for a little over 2 years now. And, it's interesting that few people would keep working on it. And I've been posting recently because I'm ready to start letting people know what I'm working on. And maybe I shouldn't say it like that. I'm ready to start letting people in and gaining some more traction of this business. And it's been just wild. I've spent, they say, what is it? You're one no away. You're 100 no's away from yes. And I can't remember who said that, but you're 100 no's away from a yes. And that's pretty clear. And some of the things that I find the most interesting while developing a startup. So what is a startup? Or in my mind, what is a startup? So basically, I want you to think of the business that I've started. I want you to think of you've been dropped off in the woods. You have a roll of duct tape, a Bic pen, and a flashlight. And you have to start literally from scratch. And you have to use all of your know-how. You have to use everything that you've learned along the way. So I'm 55 years old. So in 55 years, I've learned all these skills. And then you have to be able to tell your story effectively to customers, partners, manufacturers, investors, private equity, banks, you name it, communities, and everybody that's involved. And that is probably one of the most difficult things to do. And it's because you have to be consistent every single day. And it's tough. There's every day you have a no, or some days you might have 5 no's. And at the end of the day, it's almost like you've been beaten with I always kind of joke, like beaten with wet noodles. Like it's enough pain. And maybe wet noodle isn't the right analogy, but it's enough pain that you have to deal with. But it's not too much that if you just have a little bit of will, a little bit of perseverance, and a whole lot of guts, you wake up the next day and you chip away at it. And one of the things that's been really, really easy for me, I should say, the thing that's been the easiest for me, that might be the right way to say it. The thing that's been the easiest for me along the way building a startup is one fundamental thing. I have something every day that I work on personally that I'm super passionate about outside of the startup. And it happens to be my cycling, and I have a mindset of trying to achieve something that 8 months ago I actually thought was impossible. And so I'd set the bar so high for myself that every day I have to work on it. And there's good days and bad days. And it's interesting that they all correlate back to what I'm doing in my professional life. It's like there's good days and bad days. And so I started documenting both sides, right? So I started documenting this journey of mine to achieve, 350 watts for a sustained period of time riding a bicycle. And my goal is 2 hours. And I'm far from it, but 2 hours the other day, I got 310 watts. So I'm not so far from it. And it's interesting because in parallel, the startup I'm working on, I'm really, really close. I have got every single piece together. And ultimately the problem is I work at a faster pace, or maybe my expectations of others is much faster than they're able to deliver. Because all of these other parties that are intertwined into this project all have other people that have to make decisions in order for the next part to move forward. And, it's even funny, like there was one day with one of the big organizations, and we were having a meeting, and it was, okay, well, I want to accomplish these things by X date. And they're like, whoa, hold on. We need like a whole project plan, and we need an entire who's doing what program. And they kind of jokingly said, hey, you've done a really good job on outlining all the steps that are necessary. Why don't you make it for us? And I said, well, you don't want me to make it because I'm going to give you 37 minutes to complete this thing, 5 minutes to do this one. And, in 24 hours, I turned around a document that outlined everything and who was responsible for what. And I realized that when I did that, it gave me a clearer picture of what I can expect from, a large corporation, and then what I can expect from an investor side and how all the parts come together. And it's helped me build some patience. And that's probably, if you have a startup or you're thinking about a startup, and even if you're thinking about going into business for yourself, and you could go from you are a service tech for somebody to starting your own service business. All of those things, it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter what the business is. If you're going into business for yourself, you have a startup, and it's just as hard for you if you're a single operator or if you're your goal is to build, a multi-location, hundreds of employees company. It's all the same because it's all relative. If you start a company out of your van that you have, that maybe you're a service tech, and you take the $5,000 you have in your bank account and you invest it in yourself, it's no different if you go out and raise $5 million from investors and then build the business. It's identical. They don't ever let anyone make you think that your business isn't as big as theirs. Like you read these reports and these news, and you see videos and you see all these things where people are talking about, $100 million or $50 million or $10 million or $100,000 that took them to start their business. It doesn't matter. It's just zeros. It's all in the economies of scale on how you're building your company. And it is really, really tough. I'll tell you, I've built companies that are really small, and I built some really big ones, and everything in between. And I've failed miserably multiple times. I've had some good successes, and I've had my teeth kicked out along the way. And one of the greatest things that I've learned from it is two things. One, you stand up and dust yourself off. Everybody says that. That's like the easiest thing to do. And two, you have to remember, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter about what anybody else believes if your ability to achieve your goals. There's only one person that is keeping you from being successful. And it literally is the person that you stare in the mirror in the morning. And I tell you, I talk to him and I say some pretty outlandish things to that guy. And he looks right back at me in the eyes and he says, listen, I'm not tolerating your BS today. You just need to get back out there and start hustling. So this whole series, it was a long-winded way to say this entire series is to document the process of starting with an idea, it not working, changing it as I realized market conditions, and then molding it into a business that really, really can be successful. And it's been wild. And like I said, I'm really, really close to making all this happen. And it has been quite an adventure. And I encourage anyone that hears anything that I have to say, I encourage everyone to try it yourself.